Well, I wanted to let people know about Miracles for You coming up. So this is a training that Sandra and I are giving at the end of the month, and maybe you have some problem in your life, relationship issue, family issue, financial issue, whatever it is. We all have some kind of issue going on, and this is what we want to focus on in this weekend and help people move through whatever that is that's happening with them in a very practical, specific way, and help you change whatever mindset you have that's creating the problem and give you a solution so that you can leave the weekend with the benefit of having a new approach, a new mindset. And that's what we call a miracle. So that's what that weekend's going to be about. We're going to be as practical as we can for relationships, finances, health. I would say those are the three main areas that we're going to focus on and see what we can do to shift those energies. So that's Miracles for You. That's coming up September 26th to 28th. Right. I think everyone's here. Hi there, God.
Oh my God.
God's here. You know, people have their little name on their Zoom, right? And God is here. So, hello, God. Thank you for coming. Angela, nice to see you. Things are moving pretty fast here in Washington, in our house, in our little Babaji ashram here in Washington, and we're getting more present out there in social media and so forth. So we're shifting ourselves in how we deliver our message, our work, and it's all for the good. And we're trying to reach the people that are on these platforms because that's where they hang out, right? So you got to go reach the people where they hang out. And that's what we're doing now. And we weren't so aware of that before, but now we are. And we're making the adjustments. So today we're going to do something a little bit differently. I'm going to give my talk, and then I'm going to talk about some things after the talk about what we're offering in the next few months in our work. And then we're going to open up the floor for question and answer. We're going to do a period of that. And that can go as long as we need, right? So if nobody has any questions, it probably won't go very long. But if you have a lot of questions, then that's okay too. So, but that will not be recorded. That'll be after the talk. So, but that's a new thing we're implementing in the Sunday talk, is the question and answer period afterwards. Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to this Sunday talk, the part of the Gifts of God program where we get together every Sunday and we discuss something meaningful, something that is everyone's issue. I think it's important to keep it very relevant. Whatever we talk about is going to solve some problem that we have in life, and that it's everybody's problem. So the theme of today was burning your past, or letting go of grievances, right? And the Course is very clear about these grievances that we hold, the destructive nature of the grievances, the reason why we can't seem to leap into this perfect happiness that the Course tells us is God's will for us, right? God's will for us is perfect happiness. And then we notice we don't quite feel like we're in that place of perfect happiness. And then when we look a little more deeply into it, we see we have grievances, we see we have attack thoughts, we see we have judgments, we see, various things. Judgments could be even about ourself and our own life. It's not necessarily towards other people, but it could be even towards ourselves. So how do we burn that up? How do we step out of that is the question. And that's the theme of the talk today. I think a fundamental problem that everyone has, every human being has, is that we live in the past. In fact, the past is, it's somewhat necessary that we remember things, right? Our memory is based on the past. That's what memory is. It's something back there, and we remember it. And there are certain things we have to remember. Like if we're brought up in America or Great Britain, we speak English, and everybody else does too, and we have to remember how to do that. So there's part of our memory that's very functional and very practical and necessary. And so that aspect of memory, in order to function in this life, we need it. So the past is very vivid and very necessary and very specific. And that's not the part we're talking about when we're saying burning the past or letting go of the past, because we see that part we need. So what is it when the Course says the past is over, it can touch me not? That's lesson 289, right? The past is over, it can touch me not. And just before that lesson, 288, it says, let me forget my brother's past today. Let me forget my brother's past today. Then it says the past is over, it can touch me not. And then very interesting, the next lesson, 290, it says, my present happiness is all I see. Okay? So the Course in Miracles can take you through a wide range of emotions, inner states of being, perspective on life. It can take you through a wide range of that in a very short time, like boom, 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 like boom, boom, boom. And if you're really attentive and you give the lessons attention, you see what it's doing, right? And you see how it's doing it. So let's just take those three lessons, right? That if you were in the flow of doing the lessons, that would be only a 3-day period. But if you're someone like us, where we've already done the lessons many times, right? We might open the book, especially to that section in part 2 of the workbook where the lessons are very short, and we might read 3 lessons all in one sitting. So that's what we're doing today. We're looking at these 3 lessons. Let me forget my brother's past today. The past is over, it can touch me not. And my present happiness is all I see. Well, let's take it from the top and work backwards, right? So 290 says, my present happiness is all I see, all I see. It doesn't say, oh, half of what I see is happy and half of what I see is sad. No, it says all that I see. So if in that state of awareness, let's say, let's call that awareness. What is it I'm aware of? Well, in this lesson, it says, my present happiness is all I see. Now, if we brought that lesson into application, we'd probably be Jesus walking on water. Because if all we saw was happiness, we didn't see any problems, we didn't see any grievances, we didn't see any attack thoughts, no judgments. We only saw this perfect happiness. We'd be in an enlightened state. We would be there. We would have arrived. This is the goal of the Course in Miracles, to move us out of our self-made hell into our God-given heaven. And this lesson is like a description of the heavenly state. My present happiness is all I see. If you're in heaven, that's all you're going to see is happiness, joy, peace, relaxation, safety, certainty, equanimity, love for your brothers and sisters, a state free of grievances. Okay, so we're getting it, right? We have to define it. We have to know what that is. And that's what it says in the lesson. My present happiness is all I see. Oh, and also it says present. My present happiness. So we know something else about happiness. It's something you experience in the present. Right now. To a certain degree, only now. We don't have any regrets about the past. We don't have any anxiety about future events. We're not saying, oh, well, what a bad administration we have now. And it's just not possible to be happy in these days because the government is X, Y, and Z, right? We're not engaging in those kinds of thought forms. All right, so then we would have to say then, okay, what blocks me? What takes me out of the present? What takes me away from the present happiness? Well, this is where we have the problem. We have grievances. We have regrets. We have worries about the future. We did a client a few weeks ago, and he said, I've become a master worrier. It sounds kind of funny now, but when you think about it, that's part of our mind, part of everybody's mind, right? Not just his mind. We're trying to talk in an impersonal way here, in a general way. Like, what is the issue everyone has? Most people have, maybe in different degrees. You might have your worriers, and we've all experienced a little bit of that. But then you might have your expert worriers, like they're constantly in this projection of the future and trying to, figure out the angles and how is this going to go? And their mind is totally preoccupied with that. Well, they're not in the present. Therefore, they're not happy campers. They're not focused on this heavenly state, so to speak. And you have to have some attention towards what you give attention to is what you manifest and create in your life, right? So those people that are focused on worry are more likely to get the very things that they're worried about coming at them, because that's what their mind is focused on. So this says, well, the past is over. The present is the happiness. And if you're projecting, we call it catastrophic thinking. Oh, I think a catastrophe is going to happen in the future, or something's going to go wrong, or my plan is not going to work out. Then that's like the reverse of regret, but projected out into the future, into worry. So both those situations keep you from the present, keep you from the happiness. We have to see that, and we have to also ask ourselves, to what degree am I engaged in that? To what degree do I worry about the future? To what degree do I regret the things that I did in the past? And then also in the present, what are the things that are bothering me now? What are the things that I'm not receiving the happiness in my present moment? What are those things? What am I going to do about it? Could be a relationship. Could be, we're not communicating. Could be, I don't feel the affection from my mate. I don't feel the comfort from my mate. There's many things. And then we put up with kind of the status quo, and we go day to day, and then we realize in this relationship, we can't honestly say, my present happiness is all I see in this relationship. Isn't this the status quo too often? So how do we shift that? What is the action we need to take to have the present happiness? What are the grievances? The Course is not, it's very transparent about this issue. Even says, my grievances and my attack thoughts aren't love. Love holds no grievances. Lesson 68, right? Love holds no grievances. Then later on, and I've often talked about this, one of the most powerful lessons, lesson 78, says, let miracles replace all grievances. And then it gives you the exercise. We all know it. I hope you're doing it when you get in a situation, right? Take the person you have the most grievances toward, and then see them as your savior for that day. So in fact, they're showing you something in yourself. And if you can forgive that thing in them, you're also forgiving that thing in yourself, because they're just mirroring whatever that is. And then you can get in a different space. You can let go, so to speak. You can let go of the grievance. You can see it as a lesson God would have me learn. The grievance is a lesson God would have you learn. We're not saying don't feel your feelings. If you have a grievance and you have something off, you're feeling it. It's affecting you. It's a very palpable thing in your life that is there. So how do we deal with it? How do we work it through? How do we would say in breath work, how do we process it? How do we process that grievance? Well, first you have to see that you've attracted it, whatever that situation is. You've attracted that thing, that grievance, and it's usually something from the past you didn't like, some interaction, or something in the present, some relationship dynamic that's not working. And it's there. Could be your boss, let's just say. I think the theme for today was, how do we burn our past? How do we get over our grievances with our boss, our partner, our children, our parents, our family members? other people in our life. So those are where the grievances manifest, right? Our sisters, our siblings. Because they're blocking our perfect happiness in the present. Usually for myself, I've found when I have a grievance towards someone, it's activating something in me. It's activating something I don't like about myself. And then I feel it. Like, let's just say we have this common thing in rebirthing where we say people have a personal lie. Let's say your personal lie is I'm not good enough. And then you're in a relationship and your partner is never satisfied with your actions. Or like you present something or you try to do something and it's like they're never fully grateful, they're never fully satisfied with whatever that action is that you do. Well, of course, you're going to be activated. It's going to bring up in you this thought, I'm not good enough. So usually a grievance is related to some thing in yourself that you're not happy with, you don't like that about yourself. And then they're just activating that. So that's why you're plugged in, right? Because they activate in you whatever that feeling is you have about yourself, some limiting thought, some negative thought you have about yourself. So you're activated. It like triggers that. So it's always like when something happens, I found this very useful question. Whenever you're activated and you have a grievance towards someone, you always ask this question, what is it in me that attracted that? What is it in me that attracted that? Very useful question. You know, when Sandra and I studied this process, Ho'oponopono, which is a Hawaiian forgiveness process, that was always their question. What is it in me that attracted this? What is it in me that has made this scenario up? And it's usually something very deep, some self-judgment, something from our past that we haven't let go of. Recently, Sandra and I have been discovering we didn't work so much in our sessions with people about past lives. We didn't feel so in touch with that because people had plenty of stuff in this life to clean up. And we had our hands full helping people clean that up. And we thought, well, if we go to past lives, it's like way too much. But now what we've discovered, we're so adept at helping people clean up, you know, their personal lie and their birth trauma and things from this life. What's now coming up for people are these past life memories. And even in ourself, we're processing those things. So, but it's all from the past. It's all from the past. Even our personal lie, even our negative thoughts about ourselves, even our judgments about others, even our not being able to get along with our boss at work. It's all triggering something from the past. How do we step out of that? How do we restore peace, perfect happiness, sense of well-being, relaxation in our daily life? All areas of our life, all areas, not just at home. You know, it's it's easy. You come home, you sit on your couch and meditate, and you can get pretty peaceful. But now, the minute you step into the job scene, right, there might be 4 people that you don't get along with, and now you got to deal with them for 8 hours, and it's not so easy. Very activating. So how do we take the peace that we can put ourselves in on the couch into our workspace? Because that's where it's needed. So the spiritual practice that we do on our perfect couch of meditation, we have to have a way of bringing that into our daily life. And our daily life, we notice, has got these grievances, got these little frictions and dissatisfactions. It's everybody's challenge. There must be a way we can do it, or Jesus wouldn't be giving us these lessons to practice, right? So I was also reviewing these lessons from 61 through 70, where it says, I'm the light of the world. I am the light of the world. That's 61. Then it says, well, forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. The light of the world brings the peace through my forgiveness to my situation. That's my function. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. It's very clear. You can't say it's ambiguous language, right? Or you can't say, well, I don't understand that. No, it just says you have to learn, you have to master forgiveness. And then it says later, well, forgiveness isn't like, oh, you're good and somebody else is bad and you're going to let them off the hook because you're so good. No, that's false forgiveness. That's the ego's version. True forgiveness is seeing, well, what is that thought in me that was in error that attracted some kind of a conflict or a situation or a non-peaceful feeling in myself? What is that thing in me, that thought that made that up, and I'm responsible for it, and I have to let it go? And that's why it says, love holds no grievances. Because that's a grievance, whatever that thing is in you that attracted that uncomfortable situation. And then it says, well, love, which is, you could say heaven, love, peace, joy, they're all the same vibration. It says, well, in that vibration, you can't bring any grievances, any attack thoughts, any judgments, dissatisfactions. It's mutually exclusive. You can't have heaven with grievances in it. We would probably all agree with that. Like if we're going to go to heaven, even if we're projecting this kind of, nirvana state, right? We would probably all agree, well, if we're in heaven, there's not going to be problems. There's not going to be grievances. We're going to have this happiness and this deep feeling of joy. We could probably all agree with that. But then how do we get there and maintain it? And it's actual, not just a projection. Well, we've got to deal with the grievances. We've got to deal with the things within us that are preventing it. And then it says, well, you're the light of the world. You dissolve the grievances with the light. And forgiveness is the way to do it. Forgiveness is the light. Forgiveness brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness. That's 63. So if I'm really doing the forgiveness, and I really have the boss that plugs me in, right, at work, or the mate that's plugging me in all the time, well, then I got to apply the forgiveness. Forgiveness is my function in this relationship. Any relationship. Every relationship. Forgiveness is your function in every relationship. Can you stay focused on that? When you're on your meditation couch at home saying Om, and your boss comes to mind and you're saying, okay, well, I wish he would change or do this or that, then it's like, well, what is it in me that has attracted that? And right, and you look at it. And usually you can trace it back to yourself. Oh, yeah, I attracted that because I wasn't worthy, or I thought I needed to be punished because I was guilty. So you start to see the inner workings of why things come to you. Recently, we saw some things. Oh, we were taking the business in the wrong direction. So we had some wake-up calls that were not so easy. But we saw, oh, we're responsible. That's a wake-up call. We got to change directions. So we did. But it's like that. It's always self-introspection first. Asking yourself, well, why do I have a piece of hell still in my life? Why is this hell recurring over and over again, right? Then you unravel the things in yourself you need to change, the thoughts you need to change. And when you do and you apply that, it's like forgiveness. You let forgiveness rest on all things, mostly yourself, then everyone else, and then all the situations. There's people, but then there's also situations. And we've discovered if you haven't forgiven that particular situation, you could recreate another situation just like that. Maybe you forgave the people, but you didn't forgive yourself for being in that situation. So it's deep. It's like all pervasive. You have to let forgiveness rest on everything, everyone, all the parts. And even the parts you're not even sure about. You say, okay, Holy Spirit, I've forgiven so-and-so and so. I've forgiven myself first. I've forgiven so-and-so. I've forgiven the situation. And if there's anything I left out, please include that. That's a beautiful part of this Ho'oponopono prayer. There's a part where it says, anything that I knowingly or unknowingly left out. Like there might be some things you don't want to include in the process and you intentionally leave them out. Some favorite villain you would not put in your forgiveness process because you love having grievances toward them. They have to be in there too. Okay, so then it says, I'm the light of the world. Forgiveness is my function. It brings the peace to everybody involved. And then it says, let me not forget my function. Then it says the only function is this one. Forgiveness is the only function God gave you. Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. Forgiveness brings peace to every mind through my forgiveness. Let me not forget what my function is. And then it says, my only function is the one God gave me. Then this is very beautiful. The next lesson says, my function and my happiness are one. My function and my happiness are one. So, okay, now we're getting to how do we maintain my present happiness is all I see, right? That's lesson 290. My present happiness is all I see. All I see. And then this other lesson, 66, my happiness and my function are one. All right, now we know our function is to forgive, And there it is. We're not to forget our function. And then it says your function and your happiness are the same. So basically it's saying forgiveness and happiness are the same. When it's total, right? You get to perfect happiness through total forgiveness. Total. Atonement, it would call it. When it uses the word atonement in the Course in Miracles, which it uses a lot, it's talking about you've forgiven everything. You don't have one grievance towards anything. Particle of dust. You don't have a grievance towards anything. Anyone, anything, nothing. It's total. That's accepting the atonement. You let forgiveness rest on all things, all, it says again, all things, and thus forgiveness will be given me. So when you let the forgiveness go to all things, you don't have any grievances. None. Nobody can plug you in. You'd rather have peace instead of this, right? Oh, I'd rather have peace than this relationship with my boss who I hate. Or my mate who I can't get along with. Or my mate who so selfish, never gives me any comfort. I'd rather have peace instead of that. Or maybe you need to change your mate. Maybe you need to change your job and get a different boss. That could be possible too. We can't be masochists here. So this lesson, my function and my happiness are one. It's very beautiful. Sometimes the Course in Miracles will corner our mind with a logic that's irrefutable. And, I studied this, I took this course in college, and it was very unusual because I went to an art school, right? But we also had to take some academics. We had to take a third of our classes were not painting and sculpture and all that. We had to also take some academics because it was a college, and to get your degree, you had to do certain things. Well, so I took a philosophy course, and it was very interesting. It was taught by a rabbi. Rabbi Spiro was his name, and he was very bright. He was very funny too. And we had to take this kind of overview of philosophy and, learn about this period, this period, this period. But the thing I always remember was he taught about the logic of philosophy. And there's a thing in philosophy called a syllogism. And what a syllogism is, it's a set of premises that lead to a conclusion. So a syllogism has three parts. It's two premises and a conclusion. Like, if this is true, and then this is true, this third thing has to be true, all right? So that's how they use logic in philosophy to prove certain things. They say, okay, if this premise you accept as true, and then this premise you accept as true, this third thing has to be true. So there's a perfect syllogism in this lesson 66. My happiness and my function are one. And it goes something like this. It says, God gives me only happiness. So we're talking about happiness here, right? We want to get there. We want to get to my present happiness is all I see in this talk. And we want it to be really ours. We've had an experience of it. We make contact with it, and we can make contact with it again. So now we're talking about my happiness and my function are one thing. And we also know our function is to forgive, right? Forgiveness is my function as the light of the world. And this light is what's going to undo whatever it is that we're not being in happiness about. So here's the way. It says God gives you only happiness. Do we accept that as true? So anything not happy in your life is not something God gave you. It's something your ego made up. It's okay to accept that. It's like you're not blaming yourself, and you're certainly not blaming God for your misery. You're taking responsibility for your misery. You're saying, I made my misery. I'm not going to blame it on God. I'm not going to blame it on any other circumstances and then say, well, God didn't save me from it because God it's not effective and doesn't save me from my misery. No, you're just saying, God gives you only happiness. Let's just start there. God gives me only happiness. Well, then that has other implications. Okay, if I'm not feeling happy, then I'm not in touch with God. I don't have my divine connection lined up. Because God gives me only happiness. Only. All right, let's just look at that, leave it on the table, and move on to the next statement. God gives my function to me. I have a function God would have me fill, right? God gives me my function. God gives me happiness, and then he gives me a function. You could say, well, I was created. Obviously, I was created. I'm here. I was created. There must be some purpose while I'm here, why I'm here, how I'm here. I have a purpose for being here. I don't think you'd find anybody that, well, maybe in a mental institution that says, I don't have any purpose. I'm alive, but I don't have any purpose. Those would probably be people ready to commit suicide, right? But we're not those. We're with a purpose. Well, God gave us a purpose. So it says, God gives me only happiness. Then he says, he gives my function to me. And then the third statement, like if you agree with those two statements, God only gives me happiness. And he also gives me a purpose for being here. A function, it says. Then your function has to be happiness. That's the logic that in philosophy I learned is a syllogism. And it's perfectly consistent. God gives me only happiness. He gives my function to me. Therefore, my divine function has to be happiness. So it confirms it in many different ways. Like, and that's the good part about the Course in Miracles. It'll give you a statement like, God's will for me is perfect happiness. And maybe you can't quite receive it in that lesson, but then it'll give you another lesson where you see it in a little different angle. And then when you put it together, you start seeing, oh, okay, I must have a purpose being here. Oh, and then God gives me a purpose. He calls it forgiveness. And then the end result would be happiness. And then the end result would be I have a function. So it all starts to then link together. So let's go back now to the other lessons. My present happiness is all I see. And if we're not happy, what is it? What do we need to do? Well, it's the forgiveness, obviously. We need to forgive ourselves. We need to forgive others. We need to not hold grievances. If we have a grievance, there's a reason it's there. We haven't cleared something in ourselves. And that person who's activating our grievance is actually doing us a service. Is doing us a divine service for us to see our grievance and let it go. They're showing you something in yourself that you're plugged in about and that you haven't forgiven, and they're showing you exactly what you need to forgive. A college professor couldn't do it any better. Could be a kid on the plane, like one of our friends shared that, when she gets on the plane, she always attracts sitting near people with kids, and the kid is always screaming for the whole flight, right? Now, how many times have you been in that situation where you got to sit there for 6 hours and your neighbors over here have a couple kids and the kid is just like outrageous and screaming the whole time? Can you maintain your peace in the middle of that? It's a test. So life gives us the test, right? Life gives us the grievance in order to get off it. Rise above it, let it go, forgive it, not be affected by the external situation. And then we have to practice that. And the more we practice that, the more we apply the forgiveness, the letting go, the function that God gave us, we return ourselves back to this inner peace. My friend in India uses the word equanimity. I love that word, equanimity. It's like everything is balanced, everything is calm, everything is equal. I'm not judging. I don't have grievances. Usually when I see the screaming child in the other seat, I say to Sandra, I'm so glad we don't have children. When you see what these parents have to go through to take their kids on a flight, right? With the stroller and the this and the bag with the diapers, and I say to Sandra, I'm so glad we don't have children. So I feel good. I don't feel activated. I feel, wow, I can have compassion for the people. All right, so then God gives me only happiness, and he gives me this function. If I'm not happy, I apply the forgiveness to it. I ask, what's it in me that's activating this? Oh yeah, I didn't forgive so-and-so from my past. I didn't forgive my past for some mistake I made. I didn't do that. I'm holding that grievance towards myself, and this is activating that. So it's just another opportunity to let go of that. Now, these two lessons are mighty beautiful. And if we can master this, I can say right now, you're on your way to being a master of forgiveness. It says in 288, let me forget my brother's past today. Let me forget my brother's past today. So now there's a new word, forget it. Just forget it. Just forget it. My brother did something, I really hated it, and maybe it was even hurtful, and maybe I even experienced some consequences, like I lost money on a situation, right? I lost a lot of money. Could be I lost a lot of money on the situation and the thing didn't work out, right? And that's all in the past. And now all of a sudden Jesus is saying, just forget it. Forget your brother's past today. And he also means your past. Your past. Well, how do we, how do we experience that? Like, oh, the person did something in the past. I didn't like it. I have a grievance. Well, you were there too. My teacher, Haleakala, said, did you ever notice when there's a problem, you are there? You are there. Well, if you have a grievance towards somebody, you were there too. And you're connected to it, whatever that was, that interaction. So that was in you, you attracted that. So it's also, let me forget my brother's past today, but it's also let me forget my own past today. And we're seeing this more and more in the work we're doing where past lives are coming up and tendencies in the present could be a result of tendencies or some experience in a past life you're bringing in, right? So if you don't clear that past life memory, you still keep the tendency because it's very related to that lifetime. So we're seeing the importance now of clearing the past lives. But ultimately, even when you look upon some issue, right, and you get to the bottom of it, oh yeah, I had this in me that was making that, you still have to forget it. In the end, your test, your action of getting over it is to forget it. Okay, I take responsibility. I see, oh, I made that mistake, but I still completely love and accept myself. And forget it then. Forget it. Forget your brother's past, forget your past. That's miraculous, if we can do it. And that's where, we're tested. Do we want to hang on to the grievance? It's so juicy, we get so much charge from it. Or can we just forget it and let it go? Then it just says the truth. My past is over. Somewhere in the text it says the only thing that's true about the past is it's not here. It's not here and now. It's gone. It's not even here. So why do we keep it alive? Why do we keep in the memory some trauma that we had 10 years ago alive? And we keep replaying it and reinventing it and seeing little bits of it over here and played out here with different players, but same script, right? Well, because we haven't let it go. We are still hanging on. We're still holding the grievance towards ourselves, towards someone else. And that holding of the grievance is keeping it alive in our present with new situations, new players, new that. We're doing it to ourselves, basically. So now it says the past is over. It can touch me not, meaning it can't infiltrate my present unless I don't want to let go of it. If I want to hold the grievance, if I want to be the victim, if I want to stay in the blame, right? If I want to stay in the blame, that means you're not letting go. You're saying, oh, I'm not responsible. They did it to me. Or if you say, well, I am responsible, but I just can't forgive myself for being so stupid. Same thing. It's like a self-inflicted grievance. We have both kinds. We have the blame kind where we're a victim and somebody else did it to me. And we have the self-infliction, self-flagellation where, I made this terrible mistake and I just cannot at all forgive myself for it. they're the same thing, right? So now it says, just forget it. It's gone. It's past. Not even here. God has condemned me not, no more do I. That's lesson 228. God has condemned me not, no more do I. Meaning your Creator doesn't hold you account. I mean, the only accountability for a mistake is to correct it and let it go, right? So if you're doing that now in the present, let it go. There's no condemnation. It doesn't say, well, yes, you made a mistake and you're going to correct it, but you're going to have to go through punishment first in order to correct it. It doesn't say that. The church might imply that, but not the Course in Miracles. God doesn't hold any mistake against you at all. Any, ever. God has condemned me not, no more do I. I'm not going to get dire consequences from this mistake. Not from God's side, anyway. Maybe from my own side, if I can't forgive myself and I beat myself up, or I'm trying to beat somebody else up. But it's not going to be coming from God. It's going to be from my own stubbornness to let go. My unwillingness, Tara Singh called it. I'm unwillingness. I have unwillingness to accept the miracle. I have unwillingness to let go of the past. And that's a force, he said. That's a force you have to reckon with, because it's very strong in people. Unwillingness to let go. All right, so let's just say all of us gathered here, we want to let go. Let's do it right now. The past is over. It can touch me not. Let me forget my brother's past and let me forget my own past. And the boon of doing that, the benefit of doing that, my present happiness is all I see. If you don't have grievances and you don't have regrets, what are you going to see in the present? Beauty, peace. You know, we had some guests here this morning. On Sandra's birthday, we put out some outreach, right? And a lot of people came that we didn't even know. We never even met. So somehow I'm putting it on Facebook. Some people showed up that were new. And there was this Indian couple, or Indian guy, right? I'd never seen him before, but he was there and he stayed for the whole time. And then after the Sandra's birthday, he wrote an email and he said, oh, I would really like to meet you. Can I come over and bring my wife? So it took a couple of weeks because we had some other things, but I said, okay, on this day, come over at 10 o'clock. I have something at 1, but if you come over at 10, we can have a nice chat. We can have a little breakfast. So he brought his wife over, and we'd never met them. And we had a nice, wonderful little brunch with coffee and conversation. And it turns out he's read some of our books. And I had written this book about my relationship with Tara Singh. And he'd read the whole thing. And he knew who I was, right? And they were just delightful. The conversation was so beautiful. And there also, he was a chemical engineer or something, very intelligent, and his wife was in the helping industry. I think she's a nutritionist, and their children are I think one of their daughters is also a doctor, a pediatric surgeon. So very, refined people. It was so beautiful. It was so peaceful. It was so uplifting. It was so, my present happiness is all I see, right? So what's going to happen when you let go of all this past crap? Your life is going to be filled with these kinds of encounters that are just going to be uplifting, happy, beautiful. And they lead to other beautiful encounters, right? So we gave them a couple of books. Sandra had a new book, Outside the Box with Babaji, and they knew about Babaji. And so we gave her that book, and I had a book, Tagore. Tagore was this famous Indian poet who was the first to win the Nobel Prize in Literature, first Indian author to win that. And I had these little volumes of his poetry bound in leather in India. And I had an extra copy, and I gave the gentleman one of these. He was so delighted. And, you know, it was like, I could almost cry. It was so joyful. That's present happiness at work when we let go of our grievances. Yeah. It's just not worth it to hold on to grievances. God has wonderful things in store for us once we let go. And they'll come out of nowhere. We didn't know these people from Adam, and now they're on our doorstep. So this is the kind of encounters you'll have. And isn't it worth it to go there? My present happiness is all I see. Yeah, I think we can go there. So, okay. Well, that's it for the talk, but I also wanted to let you know about some of our future things that we're planning. So I'm going to pull up another screen share, right? So just bear with me for a second or two. Yeah, okay. Alrighty. Let me see now. Okay, so here we have Miracles for You. I told you about when we started. That's going to be more of getting through the main areas in our life where we need some help: relationships, health, our work, our daily work, career. So what are the things that are the stumbling blocks? What are the grievances we have to let go of in those areas? So we're going to look at those things in this weekend and help people navigate through that and make the changes they need to do to solve whatever that is, you know? So it's going to be very practical. Miracles aren't like pie in the sky things. No, they're seeing what are the thoughts, what are the grievances, where we have the blocks that we haven't been able to let go. Can we let go? Can we change those thoughts and get a different result? So that's what this weekend's about. It's miracles for you, the changes you need to make, you want to make, and what are those actions we need to take to implement those changes. So that's what that weekend's about. And then loving relationships, we're going to go back to Europe another time. First year, we've done a double European tour, so we're going to go back to Europe in November before Bali and present the LRT. Now, the LRT is all about how do relationships work? How did we inherit patterns from our family that we're now replaying in our relationships now, some of them good, some of them not so good. How can we let go of the ones that were not so good? So it's mostly about family patterns. It's also about, our personal lie, the inner work. And all these trainings, these weekend trainings, have 3 sessions of breath work. So that's how we make the breakthroughs. How people say, well, how do I let go? How do I forgive the past? How do I release the past? Well, we found the most effective way to do that is through breath work and through integrating your mind, your body, your spirit all in one thing, and the breath work does that. Then we have this retreat in Bali. It's an international breathwork retreat. We have it every year, same time, December 3rd to the 13th, in a wonderful place in Bali. We stay in these villas. You have your own, it's double occupancy. You'll have a roommate, but these villas are very beautiful with your own private swimming pool and and gardens. It's just a lovely place where we stay. And we do breathwork intensive training every day. So you'll be doing breathwork every day. But we also go to sacred sites in Bali that are quite amazing. You know, these are 1,000-year-old places, maybe more, that people have been using for that long, and they're very charged up. And we can make a lot of spiritual progress just going to these places. So that's the Bali Quest. And then, okay, Miracles for You. Mantra breathing, of course, you know about. That's every Saturday. The Sunday talk, which you're at now, is happening every Sunday. And then at that last weekend of every month, if you're not in one of the weekend trainings, and you're not in the mantra breathing, you can come to breathe the last Sunday in every month. We're going to do a breathe with the Sunday talk. So that's the Divine Breathe. So the next one will actually happen in the middle of the Miracles for You training, but we're still going to have that Divine Breathe. And then we're emphasizing that we're available for private sessions. And what we've noticed is that people make the most advancement in their process, in their life, through these private sessions of breath work that we offer people. And we've just noticed that. Sandra's been rebirthing people for 50 years. And I think she could honestly say she's an expert in the field, and she's seen a lot of people and the effects of breath work on them, and that this is probably the most effective, intense offering that we can give people. Some people have called it the holy grail of our work, is the private session. And we're expanding that soon. You know, usually a private session would go on for 2 hours, a full private session with a consultation, and that includes some homework, some affirmations we give people to work with after the session. But we're also creating these shorter sessions that are an hour long instead of 2 hours long. And they're going to be focused on maybe one issue a person is having in their life, not an overall consultation, but maybe just one issue they need help with. So there's going to be more options. We're going to offer people more options in the area of private sessions. So that's on the table right now. So those are the things that we're doing, and we are going to have a busy fall, and we're real happy about that. So yeah. So thank you for joining us, and we're going to have a question and answer period now, but we're not going to be recording this. So I'm going to stop the recording and open up the floor for any questions that you might have related to what we talked about, or related to anything else that in your study of the Course in Miracles. So I'm going to end the recording, and we're going to go to there.
Recording stopped.
So does anybody need any help letting go of the past and embracing their present happiness? Yes, Adrian, go for it.
Hi. Yeah, that was powerful. And what really came up, and your very moving story about your new Indian friends, was, we got that power. And for me, what that was also is the sense of trust. Because, these are people, I mean, not just your new friends, but I mean, you're opening up to the community, many of whom you don't know. And that really brought up trust and fear, just listening to that.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, okay. Yes, trust and fear. Now, let me ask you this. We think we know people, right? And let's just say, oh, I'm only going to invite people over that I know. And these people that we know could come to our home and they would be totally in their process, totally in victim consciousness, and dump all of their crap on us when they come to our home. And these would be people we say we know, right? So do you admit that that's a possibility? That could happen? Of course. Somebody we know could come over and trash our space. Now, let's take the instance where we don't know these people. Now, are we going to be afraid that they're going to come over and trash our space? Or are we going to be saying, oh, wow, they knew about us and they came to one of our events and they spent 2 hours, listening to our talk and breathing. And then they wrote us an email saying, we really would like to meet you. And I can't quite remember all the details, but he might have said, we read your books. I think he did say, we've read some of your books. Now, this is a person you know is interested in your work. They showed up for 2 hours, and then they said, oh, we've read some of your books. You got to give a lot of attention to a book, right? even if it's a short book, you got a few hours spent looking at a book to read it. So already we're saying, wow, there's something here. And plus they're Indian, and we love India. We go every year, and we know mostly people from India who end up in America are very educated. They tend to be more high class people. I'm not making a judgment about classes, but I'm just saying in order for an Indian to get to America, they have to be at a certain echelon in order to afford it, in order to understand it, in order to make it happen, in order to get the visas. That all has to happen. So we said, it's a safe bet. He wants to come over and meet us. Let's schedule it. So we did. And I didn't really feel any fear about it. I just felt, oh, this is going to go smoothly. And so we see that sometimes what we know is no more safe than what we don't know. You could have somebody you've known for years come over and just trash your place emotionally and spiritually. And you could have somebody you don't know come and uplift your space and give it a whole new vibration, which is what they did. So I think we have to let go of this thing of fear. We don't trust. We have fear. No, the unknown is more creative than the known ever was. So when you can embrace the unknown, try to do it, because it'll give you new possibilities. All right. You feel that answers your question, Adrian?
Yeah, and I need to go and breathe, because
Oh.
that has brought up quite a bit of stuff.
Okay. All right.
I'll do that in a moment.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Yes, God. Introduce yourself, please, besides God.
Well, I have an earthly name too. I was interested in your
What
story.
is your earthly name, dear?
Cleo. So I was interested in your story about the bears.
Oh, yeah,
When you-
okay.
I know that was from a different talk, but you mentioned you were going up the mountain
Yeah,
and
yeah.
you were camping.
We'll talk
and,
about fear then. Yeah.
Yeah, the bears came.
Yeah,
and
okay.
My screen is freezing.
Yeah,
in the middle
okay.
of the night.
No, I can comment on that. You know, I got white hair here, but I've had it for a long time and it wasn't always, now it's kind of generally white all over. But the bear situation, this was many years ago. And I was out west and I had just gone to a Tarsing retreat in New Mexico, and I thought, oh, since I'm out here, and I had driven out there, so I had a vehicle and I was camping and so forth. And I thought, oh, well, since I'm here, Mount Wheeler is this tall mountain in New Mexico. It's like 14,000 feet. And I was in better shape back then too. I said, oh, wouldn't it be great? I'll just hike up the mountain. You know, I'll park my truck and take a couple days. And I had my backpack and my tent and everything. I'll just hike up the mountain, and won't that be grand? And truly it was grand, but I didn't count on this. So I'm halfway up the mountain, and it starts to rain, right? And it's getting into, like, you know, evening. It's like maybe 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. It's still light, but it's starting to rain. I said, okay, pitch the tent fast, get in there, call it a night. I actually had my Course in Miracles with me, right, in the backpack. So I'll call it a night. It's raining. Won't it be cozy in my tent? I'll go in there. I'll just, you know, get my flashlight. I'll read some lessons. So, okay, so then I'm there and it's starting to get dark, and I'm hearing this kind of a rustle, kind of a rumble, kind of a, like, what's going on out there? I mean, is somebody around my tent and blah, blah, blah? Well, guess what? A couple of bears showed up at my tent because I didn't hang my food up in a bag on a tree like they always tell you to do. Don't ever put your food in your tent, because bears can smell that a mile away and they'll come. And so you have to put your food in a bag and hang it up in a tree where they can't get to it. Well, I hadn't done that. I had a couple peanut butter sandwiches, right? So I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't do that thing they told me. And oh, now there's a couple bears outside I knew they were bears because they were very grumbly, you know, you could tell. They were not small creatures. And so I'm shaking in my boots. I'm like, well, what do I do? Like, the food's in here and they could rip my tent open and blah, blah, blah. So I said, no, you got the Course in Miracles, open up the Course. I open it up, it says, I'm in danger nowhere in the world. I am in danger nowhere in the world. It's lesson 244. So I thought, oh, wow, that's the lesson I need. And I read the lesson and I calmed down a little bit, and I just kept thinking that I'm in danger nowhere in the world. And I kept thinking, oh, let me just sort of send a little bit of light to these bears. Like, I'm reading the Course in Miracles in their presence. It probably will affect them, right? In a good way. So I'm giving them enlightenment. I was just like thinking these thoughts, you know, they might have been crazy, but I had to think something because I was almost peeing my pants with fear, right? So I'm reading this lesson and I'm thinking, oh, send the light to the bears. And you know, what happened? They actually did calm down. They actually did kind of calm down. I didn't hear the grumbling. And then I could kind of hear them out there just sort of calming down. It turned out they just sort of slept around my tent for the whole night and nothing ever happened. And then in the morning, they just left. And that was my experience with the bears. But about 2 weeks later, I had this white streak of hair on my head from the fear, you know. And then I read later that when they put Marie Antoinette in prison and she knew she was going to get her head chopped off, her hair turned white like overnight from the fear. So that's my bear story. But it's also my story about the power of that lesson. I am in danger nowhere in the world. Nowhere in the world. If we could get that, we're doing well in overcoming fear. So that's my bear story. Is that what you wanted to hear? God?
Wondering if you had to forgive the bears.
Ah,
for causing you
no,
fear.
bears are just doing bear things, you know? Animals do what's their nature. They don't really come from motives or thoughts no, they're just doing their nature. No, I didn't have any grievances towards the bears. Are you kidding? Now, fear, I had some of that, but I think that was my problem, not theirs. And as far as the peanut butter sandwiches, that was my stupidity, not theirs. They would just be doing what's their nature. Oh, this smells good. Let me go towards that. I was saved. They could have easily ripped my tent open for 2 peanut butter sandwiches. Anybody else? Are you feeling good? It was a good day. Yeah. So, all right. Well, thank you. Thank you for joining us for the Gifts of God. And we invite some of you who are not in the Gifts of God program to be in it, because we send out some podcasts during the week. We have a Gifts of God WhatsApp group that people are in that can ask questions there, and we respond. So it's a bit of a community we're developing. Serious study of A Course in Miracles, that's what we call it. Gifts of God 1-year program for serious study of the Course in Miracles. And we're so grateful to have you here. Thank you for coming. And God bless you all. Have a good week. And just remember, your present happiness is all you see. And you can forget your brother's past and your own past. And the past is over and it can't touch you. Even if you did dastardly deeds, they're all forgiven. And be good now. Okay. All right. God bless you all.